I'll hand it off to you. How about you, Ellen? Would you like to start?
Sure. Ellen Knudsen Duffy coming in from Bismarck. Let's see, I am on the board of North Dakota Local Food Alliance and I work for a solar company called Light Spring. Favorite hot beverage is coffee. I am trying to limit myself to 1 cup a day, which is a little hard. And I like medium to mild roast, as long as it doesn't get too acidic. And I drink it with Oatly, full fat Oatly. So let's pass it over to Michelle.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Coppinger, and I'm new to North Dakota. I came over from Minnesota, where my parents born and raised me, but they're both from North Dakota. I'll go into a little bit more of that during my intern presentation. I like a little light roast with my cream.
And if you want to pass it to someone.
Okay. Jill?
Good afternoon. I'm Jill Hawkinson. I am with USDA Rural Development out of our Devils Lake office, and I serve as kind of an ex officio member of the board of directors for North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance. And I guess I like a medium roast coffee. I'm a coffee person, but I have to have hazelnut cream. Otherwise, coffee just doesn't taste right to me, I guess. So I'm a little picky that way. I'll pass it off to Katrina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katrina Hannenberg, Local Foods Marketing Specialist with the North Dakota Department of Agriculture. I pretty much like any tea and coffee. It does not matter. I love caffeine, so I'll drink anything as long as it doesn't taste like mud. Let's see. I will pass it off to Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily Howe. I'm with NDSU Extension in Ward County. Beverage of choice is always tea. I actually have a cup that I just poured. My favorite blend is, it's called a Lady Earl Grey Cream, which is Earl Grey with bergamot, orange, lavender, and some cream. But right now I am drinking it's called a gunpowder green tea. It's where the green tea leaves are dried into little balls that look like gunpowder, hence the name. And it has a really earthy taste and just enough caffeine to finish out my days. And I will pass it to Jan.
Thanks, Emily. Jan Stankiewicz, current president for NDLFDA and a community health and nutrition specialist for NDSU Extension. I'm in Bismarck, and I would like to believe that I live in a world where I don't have to choose between coffee and tea, but I do drink coffee on the daily, and I just like a good medium local roast. I will pass it to Ellen. Ellen Huber.
Y'all, this is my first time jumping in on one of your calls. Chris Gessley had shared the information with the Rural Development Services team at the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. So I know that's a mouthful, but I've been 3 months in this position, and we have a lot of work going on in rural grocery access and local food initiatives. And I am a tea person. In fact, have my iced tea from Balancing Goat just down the street from us with me right now. Unsweetened, much to the dismay of my son-in-law, who's a Texas fan and likes sweet tea.
Can we pass it off to Sandra?
Oh.
Or, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you had it, so you go ahead.
I think you're muted there.
Looks like it.
Now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know, it seems like every time I get on Zoom, my settings are all messed up and I have to go in and reset them. Sandra Shively with North Central Planning Council out of Devils Lake. I like both tea and coffee, a medium roast, usually with some creamer, and then mint tea is probably my favorite. And I like that with a little bit of real cream in it. And I will pass to, how about Amanda?
Hey everyone, my name is Amanda Olson. I work for North Dakota Department of Public Instruction. I am our farm to school coordinator or farm to school specialist. And my favorite is, I have to go with what Katrina said. I just love caffeine. So if it's coffee or if it's tea, I love it all. If my favorite tea is from Tea Source in St. Paul, Minnesota. I went to college there and just have fond memories. But a chai tea right now is just everything fall. So I just made a cup of chai tea and I'm waiting for it to cool off so I can drink it. And I will pass it off to, let's see, who else hasn't gone? Is it Tracy Redland maybe hasn't gone?
Hi, I'm traveling, so I can't jump on with my face, but I'm the executive director from South Central Dakota Regional Council, Region 6. I'm not big into coffee or tea, but if I had to, it would be the medium roast. Kendra, have you gone?
Hi, I'm Kendra Rosenkrantz. I'm with the Red River Regional Council. They're in Grafton. I'm living in Washington, and I grew up in North Dakota. I got to tell you, when you were talking about your favorite hot drink, well, so I have progressively moved from what we called like church basement coffee that's somewhat transparent to living out here where we're moving into the season. Out here, they call it the big dark. And therefore, the darker the coffee, the more likely you are to stay awake. So I do like a nice dark cup of coffee, but with cream and sugar. However, when we went to Hogwarts in Universal Studios and had a hot butter beer, it's a hot butterscotch drink. It's a good thing I don't have access to that every day because that was fabulous. And let's see, ping pong. Who hasn't gone?
We got Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Kendra. I'm Chris Gesley at the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Co-ops. I'm a co-op development specialist there, and a recent addition to the Local Foods Development Alliance board. I would say my drinks would be coffee until about noon, because I have to cut off the caffeine to sleep at night. And then a recent revelation for me has been sleepy time tea. So at nighttime, it's like a lavender. There's all these different herbs and flavors and whatnot. Caffeine free. So that's a good little wind down thing. If I'm not having a beer at nighttime, it's the sleepy time tea. I'll pass it to Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda McLean, the farm management specialist here at North Dakota Farmers Union. It's been a while since I've joined these calls. If I had to choose, I would enjoy definitely a coffee, a medium roast, but I am like my coffee with some creamer and some honey from our own farm. And I'll pass it off to look, is everybody else went? Looks like
Don, Katie, Jonathan haven't.
Katie.
Everyone, I'm Katie Jonke. I'm the Nutrition Services Coordinator at Bismarck Burley Public Health in Bismarck. I'm a light to medium roast. I just like coffee because it's warm, and cream or half and half, just super simple. I'll kick it over to Dawn.
Hi, Dawn Rogard, President for Town Square Farmers Market, new member of North Dakota Food Development Alliance Board, and Food Policy Committee member for Blue Zones Project Grand Forks. I guess definitely coffee, although I do like tea. I tend to steer towards medium roast though. I think the last to go is Jonathan.
This is Jonathan Moser. I'm farmer, Forager Farm in Mandan, North Dakota, and I recently started drinking more green tea, but I'm a coffee guy. So Peace Coffee, I can't remember. I think it's called Birchwood is their medium roast coffee that I enjoy. And my wife was pretty weirded out when I switched over to green tea. So.
Nice. Well, it's great to reacquaint or meet all of you. Did we miss anyone? I think we got them all. All right. Well, then I think we can introduce our speaker. We're fortunate. The guest speaker is deeply involved in local foods, and their focus today is on the North Dakota Hunger-Free Youth Garden Project. Since we already introduced ourselves, we can hand it over to Katrina Hannenberg, local foods marketing specialist for the North Dakota Department of Ag. But I'll mention that Jenna Nieders, who was also going to contribute, is under the weather today. But I see Michelle is present, and she can talk about being an intern in the program. Your topic is. So thank you, and good to go. Katrina, if you could take it.
You bet. Well, I'm so happy to be here. So good to see familiar faces today. And I may put a couple of you on the spot later, Emily and Katie, because I want to hear about your projects too and how they went. So I'm just going to forewarn you. Let's see here. And I haven't done a remote presentation for a while, so bear with me here. Let's see here. I think I have some pictures, Brent. Do you have to turn me on to share my screen?
I think you should be able to share, Katrina, if you just click in the middle on the bottom share screen. Do you see that?
I did that and it says sharing is not turned on. The host is not allowing multiple presenters sharing.
There you go. I think
Is it
that
working?
fix it.
There we go. Okay. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Hopefully. Okay, cool. Great. All right. Okay. I'll get this figured out. There we go. Okay. So here talking about the Hunger-Free North Dakota Garden Project today. It's a great program that the North Dakota Department of Agriculture runs in partnership with the Great Plains Food Bank. Just a show of hands, you can give me a thumbs up or put in the chat if you've heard of this project before. I'm just curious if you guys have all heard about it, if there's anyone that hasn't. Awesome. Awesome. So glad you guys are aware of it. That makes me happy. That means we're doing a good job of promoting it and getting the word out. So, but if you haven't heard of it, so this partnership, we actually, we promote people to plant an extra row or think of donating extra produce to hundreds of sites across the state that accept fresh produce donations. And we actually work pretty hard to put access to all those sites so people can easily find them on a map. And that map, you can actually click on any of those flags and all the information on those produce donation sites will pop up, and you can contact those food banks and give them a call to see when you can deliver your fresh produce. But the reason we're here today, and I'm so sad Jenna's not here because she was such an integral part of this project, is the department kind of decided to do a different angle this year with um, promotion of the Hunger Free Garden Project. And we wanted to work with some local youth who actually were interested in gardening and were interested in donating the produce they grew to an actual food bank. So I contacted Jenna. She was the local foods coordinator at the time with Bismarck Parks and Rec. And she's like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea. And during that time, she actually took a position with farms, but she was gracious enough to keep the project going. And she actually found 2 youth groups that were willing and determined to do this project and did a fabulous job. That's YouthWorks and the Dakota Outrights Q Space. And she also found 2 other coordinators to help her with the project, Master Gardener Amber Wood and Alyssa Klossgard. So I got some pictures and it was fun because I actually got to go to the garden last night and see the final product. But you can see the first picture is them starting out planting. And then this second picture is about midway here. And I was impressed by the midway point too, and such a great job they did. And then once we got to the end here, this is the final product. They were actually harvesting the garden last night and did an amazing job. And they also, what really was fascinating to me is these kids, they grew some produce that I had never even tried before, gherkins. I know, thumbs up or put in the chat. Has anyone tried a gherkin before? I'm just curious. They were really, really good. They look like mini little watermelons. They were so interesting. But the kids grew a variety of produce, and then they ended up donating the produce to the Welcome House and the Soup Cafe, who very graciously accepted the produce. But the reason we took a different route with this Hunger Free project this year is we're doing a lot with Farm to School right now, and we wanted to bring the importance of the Farm to School concept as well as the Hunger Free Garden Project together. So not only were these kids doing a good deed in their community, they learned education from a master gardener. They learned about growing local food, trying new foods like the gherkins, egg education, and they just overall strengthened the program too, because their producing this garden showed other communities that they could also grow a hunger-free garden as well. So that's kind of our project in a nutshell. It was pretty simple, but a fantastic project. But I do want to ask, and I might start with Katie. Katie actually was gracious enough to start the Bismarck Public Library as a hunger-free garden donation site. And I'm curious if she can update us on how that went this year.
Thanks, Katrina. So I haven't had really a formal update, but I do know that stuff does not last very long. So, but like we were even doing actually a media interview and someone had brought some garden produce to put in there for staging a little bit for the media interview. And he wanted to get shots of that after following our interviews. And I bet you it was 10 minutes and that stuff they had put in there to stage was gone, which is great because that's what it's there for. So I definitely don't think it lasts a long time at the library. And when I did share it out with some different groups and even within the City of Bismarck employees, people were happy to hear that that was a drop-off site because of the convenience. And again, having a lot of excess. So they were happy to hear about that opportunity in Bismarck. So
That's amazing. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate you adding the Bismarck Library. It gave me an idea too. We should be asking all the libraries to do a hunger-free garden. So thanks for all your work. And I loved your media interview and the news interview. That was awesome. So, and then Emily has been doing amazing work in Minot with their hunger-free garden. I think last time I talked to Emily, she said they had donated 325 pounds. I'm curious like how it's going and if you've donated more since then. So
Yeah, so I actually got new numbers this morning. I'm trying to pull them up. But we're pulling pumpkins off the vine, so I want that to be taken into account when I say the number. But let's see. We are up to 12,000 or 1,200 pounds of produce that we've donated to local gardens and shelters. This garden is ran by the Master Gardeners in my county, and they have a decent size area that is located at the North Central Research Extension Center. And every year we have our Master Gardeners, they head up that project, and they go out, start seeds, plant them. This year we grew Armenian cucumbers, which was a new and different one. They taste just like a cucumber though. And yeah, they do that. We also have a Junior Master Gardener youth garden with the after school summer school program. And that is one where the kids that are on that program are part of the 50% free reduced lunch. So all the produce that we harvest from that garden goes home with those kids. So they get to take that home to their families and get to share about how they grew that produce, and then they get to eat it. So that's what we do over in Ward County.
that's so amazing. Does anyone else have a hunger-free garden project they'd like to share about? Because I love hearing about them. I often don't hear about everything that's going on. So if you know something in your community, I'd love to hear about it right now.
Katrina, I can share. I live in Annetta, North Dakota, or a mile outside, and we have a community orchard, and they have a community garden area. Everybody has their own plots, but they raise a lot of excess in those plots. Plus, there's a gentleman who makes, he used to have his own farmer's market years ago, and he does an excellent job. And we have a lot of participation from just the general public, and people come from all over and they'll pick. We have Juneberry trees too, choke cherry trees, just about plum trees. They're not very big right now, but yeah, it's just a great community effort here. And you can go on, I think it's Annetta Community Orchard or maybe I can send you the link. And you can see all the things they're doing. But yeah, it's a wonderful community project. And like I said, people come from all over to get vegetables. And
that's awesome. Well, I have to say, like, I just appreciate all of you who are working in local foods, and just all the great projects you're working on. And if anyone ever wants to partner on a hunger-free project, reach out. I would be happy to do that. We are trying to get the word out more. And I saw such amazing projects just in the news and media this year. I think I even saw a lady sitting in a grocery cart of carrots. So you guys saw that picture. I think it was the Soup Cafe or something, but just such great projects going on. So if you see one, share it with me. I love seeing them. Or if you ever want to work on a project, just please reach out. So that's all I have.
Katrina, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Is there any tracking of who's actually getting the produce, and then what kind of support do the people who are getting produce from the Hunger Free Garden Project, what kind of support do they have for how to prepare those things? Or do we have any information about how they're utilizing that produce at all?
So how the partnership works is that we allow the Great Plains Food Bank to track all those donations. So they work with the food bank sites to track the fresh produce donations, and then all that data goes to the Great Plains Food Bank. And then at the end of the season, I reach out to them and they give me the final totals. As for preparing it, I am not sure if the food banks give them any information on that. I would hope so. I can certainly find out.
Katrina, I know this is Jan. I know that NDSU Extension folks across the state partner a lot with the food pantries. Looks a little bit different for each site, if it's food demonstrations, samples, recipes, shelf talkers. But that's one option for food pantries. NDSU Extension has a lot of resources around that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jan.
Katrina, I can also
how
add
does
to
someone, oh, sorry.
um
Go ahead,
as
Amanda.
for master gardeners. So I'm a fellow master gardener here in Stutsman County, and I do know that like through that program, because I've donated some local extra produce to like community action here in Jamestown and stuff. A lot of people who are part of the Master Gardener program have to track their hours, and by donating some of your food counts as some of your volunteer hours. So I know a lot of that is also collected by Esther McGinnons, who's the
Sure.
like, so that might be some of the ways that some of the food is tracked to for local food, how much is produce and donated. So that might be something. I don't know if you've connected with her on, because they usually do a yearly summary from all the master gardeners.
I'll have to check in with her. Thank you for that.
Tagging off of what Amanda and Jan both said, Esther would be the contact for the master gardeners because there are several master gardeners that will donate directly to food pantries. But also with my office and our food pantries, we have a food nutrition person, Trisha Jessen. I can't think of her title right now, but she goes and she does different food demonstrations and recipes with what foods are available, as well as like what they have too much of for the food banks. And with the youth garden, we work together and she talks about the nutrition and how to prepare food for the youth in the garden. That's just what Ward County does, every county.
That's awesome. Thank you, Emily.
Trina, I was just going to
Trina,
ask.
does the
Sorry, Brenda, I keep butting in. I was just going to ask about the Hunger Free Garden projects. As far as, is there a process to become a Hunger Free Garden, or how does that work?
There isn't really a process. Like I kind of said in the presentation, we tell people to plant an extra row, or if they have extra produce, just to consider donating it. But as like a food pantry, there is a process to get signed up to accept the donations, and that's on our website. They can just click on the little sign up to be a hunger-free donation site, fill out their information, and we add them to our map.
Excellent. Thank you.
I was just going to share about a cool project. So I worked at Basin Electric. We had a Basin's backyard garden. And so employees would, at their break times or noon hour, go to this garden and we plant it and then weed it throughout the summer, and then harvest it, and then just take the produce to some participating agency in town. Just kind of pick it on a whim. And there's quite a few quite a few pounds that resulted from that. And Tracy Bettenhausen from Basin, as we spearheaded that effort. You know, it was super cool. It was neat they supported that at Basin.
Thank you, Chris. I think I have heard of Basin having a garden before, but I appreciate you bringing it up again, because like I said, I never hear about all the projects going on sometimes, and like they don't get brought to my attention unless I see them on social media or someone brings them up. So I'm going to follow up and see if they have anything posted on their website. Thank
I don't know
you.
if it still exists, because I left there in 2018. So I'm not sure if they still have it going, but
I'll have to see if they're still doing it. But I had heard that they were in the past, but I'll have to follow up on that. Thank you.
yeah.
Katrina, you're involved in the Farm to Schools program too, right? Or this is
Yes.
part of that.
Yes.
So does that tie in to the schools? Are they either a contributor or a receiver of some of the produce? I mean, I know you do growing towers and garden in a glove and other things like that. Do they work together?
Are you asking like if the kids are donating the produce? Is that?
Yeah, I imagine it's pretty small scale, but I was just curious if perhaps it does.
You know, when we did our tower garden project this past winter, where we put 50 school garden towers into schools across the state, and Jan and Amanda on here were actually part of that project and in the selection committee too. Maybe they can jump in if they'd like. But I know when we followed up with those teachers, um, several of the projects were actually growing to donate to their community. I believe, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, Wing was one of those.
Yeah, so one of the projects that Wing is doing, and Katie actually just shared some images with me. I could put in there too. They had a community garden, so the school is accessing it, but also it's open for community members to harvest as well. And there are schools that have dedicated, for example, a lot of ag education classes. Our ag educators, if they've had some sort of growing towers, if they had some sort of garden, whatever that looks like, they have donated that produce back to their local food pantry in the past as well.
Thanks, Amanda. And I should put Katie on the spot again. She did a grant in Wing, if she wants to quick talk about it, that I thought was amazing, where they put in garden beds in the community. So
Yeah, I shared with the both of you a summary that we did share with County Commissioner. But I had some Aspen funding, which is Association of Public Health Nutrition, that comes through the state health department specific to public health nutrition. And it was just a small pot of money. And so to build off the local foods mural that we did in Wing, the community gardens was kind of a conversation and a tie to that. And so the ag students in Wing did build them in May at the end of the school year this past, and then they are going to harvest the garden now into school and help get it into the school system. We did a little harvest wagon. I worked with a couple of the artists that did the mural, and they helped do a harvest wagon. And so students will use this wagon, go harvest the garden and bring it back to the school. And so feel free to share that with the group too, Amanda and Katrina. The infographic is pretty useful in that, but a lot of great feedback. The residents are loving it. The school is loving it. So it was just a really fun project to give back to that community.
that's awesome. And I saw your post here, Emily. I have heard of that one. And I also stopped by the Growing Together Community Gardens this past summer. That was a fantastic project too. So lots of cool stuff going on.
Well, wonderful. Any other questions for Katrina? Or comments? Well, thank you, Katrina. That was excellent. Very interesting and exciting. Michelle is also on, and I think she's going to talk about her internship experience with farms. And actually, I'm not clear if it is for the same project or related project. Maybe you can talk more about that, Michelle.
Sure, it's unrelated. I'm learning the food systems of North Dakota, and it's rattled my cage. I have a successful background in another area, and I'm making this exodus from Minnesota to North Dakota to get to my family roots. And I'm really happy for this opportunity. It is such a rare occurrence to walk into this system with virtually no farming experience. And I had an opportunity to dive into that with Jonathan, and I bailed for a number of reasons that I'll spare you now, but mostly some extenuating circumstances that I won't go into. But I have a little video that I put together. And because I'm really struggling with feeling rooted in navigating all this, like perhaps you all know each other and your credentials and backgrounds and things. I don't have that history. So I don't even know sometimes if I'm talking to the right person or saying the right things, or who am I offending now? So it's just been kind of nerve-wracking a little bit. So I just, to ease into a space of creativity, I made a little video, and it does contain some a gardening project Katie was working on that she invited me into. So I took some pictures, and that was at the United Way shelter. And then what else? Oh, one of the farms that we visited through farms.org was the Exit 44 flowers. So I just have some pictures of that. And really what this video is for me is to kind of sink into some creativity and loose or drop some of the angst surrounding like how to navigate all of you in this system and your positions and credentials. Like it's just kind of frightening walking into all this with all your areas of expertise. So I'm just going to play this video for now and do a little Q&A about maybe some a light SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, so we can dialogue and engage a little. And maybe it's about the video or what I've been doing or learning. So let me just get that started. I'll have to share the screen. Now, is it shared with you folks yet? Can you see anything yet? Or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Open to sharing. I'm clicking share and it's just not accepting. Let's try this again. Is there a reason why this wouldn't let me share? Sure.
Do we have to give permission to Michelle to share?
Yeah, you.
It should already have permission to share. It's on multiple participants can share simultaneously. You could, is it like what file format is the video?
Let's see.
You could email it.
It's on OneDrive. Yeah, I could do that.
Michelle, does it say anything to you when you hit the share button on the bottom?
Yeah. It says it has a share to click on, but it won't let me click on it.
That's a head scratcher.
Let's see. Here I found it now. I have to go to Microsoft Edge tab. So
they're perfect.
So this is
There we
just
go.
some of my family history, bookmarking, some experiences with Katie, and some farms, adventures to a flower farm. Okay. Yeah, the reason I wanted to share a little bit of family history is because my mom was born in North Dakota from a family of 12 on a farm out of Reeder, and my dad was born from a family of 10 outside of New England on their farm. And so even though they raised me in the Twin Cities and I spent most of my life in southern rural Minnesota, I recently moved here and was very excited to be offered this internship. And it's just occurring very slowly for me. Like I'd like to see more progress from me, but that's okay, as I'm learning a lot right now. And I'm having a focus with Katie on the SNAP because I want to like see some people cooking with these foods, just like Jonathan mentioned earlier. And that's what that was an example of, is my cooking with locally grown foods and the CSAs I had bought into prior to moving here, and learning how to work with all those foods and making them interesting and attractive and desirable. So I just want to find opportunity for cooking with people seeking how do we deal with this food, like what do we do with it, and make it interesting. So Katie's been helping me with that. And then meanwhile, like I'm learning of like the state of SNAP in North Dakota. And I'm still learning about farms staff and learning all of their programming, which I think I'll be getting a deeper dive in later Like I plan on enrolling in some of their other programming. And then I'm getting introduced to a lot of people, like all of you, which at this point are kind of faceless strangers, just as I am to you. So that's why I put myself out there a little bit with this video, which included rations. I don't know if you noticed that it was an old food stamp ration book from the war time. And I just thought that was interesting in this day and age to see a book like that. And then, so I'm meeting soil scientists and fruit scientists and gathering so many resources that those two I'd like to share sometime. So it's just been a good overwhelm, if you will. And I'm happy to be here. I'm thankful for this opportunity. I appreciate your patience, because sometimes I'm like really spot on, and other times I'm clumsing through with this. And all an effort to get back to my family roots and get near family as they get older in years. And I'm gaining skills in a lot of things, including earning like it's called the AgriSafe badge, like being educated in like agricultural like well-being. I'm really interested in like total farmer health, total worker health, and like recovery friendly workplaces. So I'm a little driven by that as well, and grocery stores, like these rural grocery stores. So I have a lot of interests, and sometimes I'm like a kid in a candy shop with all this. So it's been amazing. And now I think the focus now going forward will be on the cooking and the SNAP, and kind of bringing that all together at farmers markets. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Lisa, welcome to the group and to North Dakota again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions for Michelle?
I just want to say thank you for sharing and showing up with such authenticity and vulnerability to a group of people that, like you said, you don't really know. And I know, like, I grew up in North Dakota, and it can feel a little insular when you are an outsider, because we have all these family ties and roots that go way back, and we have our network built out. But you're very welcome here, and I just wanted to thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
How long is the internship, and when did it begin for you?
I think it was the end of May. And just when I was moving here, I was delayed in getting into my apartment because it didn't, all of a sudden wasn't ready for me. So essentially, I had a delay in even starting this because my apartment that they promised me in April still wasn't ready. And has nothing to do with farms. It was another, apartment entity. So the actual internship ends in hours. I think it's 350 total. I'm not sure I'll meet that, but at any rate, we're scheduled to end by the end of October.
Okay. Are there
Michelle.
other comments or questions for Michelle?
Yeah, thanks, Brent. Michelle, is there, thanks for sharing. Is there anything you're finding? I know when we chatted a while back, you were kind of still looking in like the exploratory phases, but do you kind of bump into particular things or themes that you aren't yet finding or still needing that maybe this group could help narrow down for you or anything like that?
That's a great question. I was hoping to crowdsource a little bit, but I don't know. Thanks for just putting it out there, and I feel like I could always bring that back to you or Farms or Katie or Jenna for sure, or this group. But I'd like to come back to the group as long as I'm still involved in these activities. So even when the internship ends, I'd probably like to stay involved. So.
Great.
Yeah, very cool. This group is it's open to anybody and everybody, so no affiliation or association needed. So
Yeah, I kind of liken my growth is maybe not real evident on top of the soil. Like if you want to use a garden analogy, like there might be a huge green tuft on top and it looks like the biggest carrot of all, but underneath it's maybe just a little thing. So I would like to think my roots are growing deeper and the growth is going underneath. It's going on inside and places you can't see. So that's I am content with the growth and progress I'm making. It's just not looking like maybe what's prized in academia and all that. So there's no love lost between me and academia either. So I'm okay with that, but I'm just not sure as far as perception goes of professionals in the field. Like that's kind of the standard of that's been set. But that's why I'm growing. It just might not have the appearance of growth by some people's standards. So that's okay.
very familiar with that.
I was just gonna say, Michelle, sometimes we grow underground before we grow above, if you think of like a plant. So maybe you should take it in that sort of consideration that you're developing your root system right now.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle and Katrina. I think next on the agenda is updates. And I see on the agenda form is an update on the North Central Regional Food Business Center. Does somebody have an update on that? I do not.
Yeah, I don't know that I have an official update, but I am on the, I don't know, whatever it is, advisory council committee or steering committee for the statewide action plan. So sitting president for the NDLFDA, that's how I get my role in that. But we're currently working on figuring out a matrix or a tool to prioritize some of those strategies within the state action plan. And haven't taken any steps towards that yet, but working on it. And I don't know if Amanda McLean is handy to do any other sort of update for the project.
I have nothing else to share really than what you shared, Jane. Yeah, we're kind of at a standstill, so.
I would take on just a little bit in that we're starting the process of developing a tri-state regional action plan. So there's some North Dakota folks along with Minnesota and South Dakota that are teaming up to kind of combine each state's state action plan into a regional local foods action plan. And that timeline is looking like early 2025, I think, for completion. So that's new.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Amanda.
Yep.
I just had a question on that. With the business builder grants for that particular stuff, is that still on the same timeline as was set in 2024? So April submission and not knowing what you're going to do or if you're going to get your grant until June?
I think their plans ideally the RFAs will be released in January with a March timeframe, I think. So trying to bump it up a little bit. I don't know if that's set in stone yet, Jonathan, but that's the info that's been shared.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious about that because looking at the timeline from this last year, you know, it's really hard to implement a project that's local food based in North Dakota if you're just finding out about that project's funding source in the middle of the growing season, if that makes sense. So like I think their original intention was like a February, and then they were going to let everybody know by April, which is a better timeline for farmers, just as like a general input from me. So
Yeah, that makes good sense. Thanks.
And that's just to add to that, that is all which Jan said is correct. A lot of the reason for last year why it kind of got pushed is we were waiting for the USDA to kind of approve everything before they could finally start opening that application window and enrollment. So yeah, the plan is sometime in January, and it'll be open 60 days instead of 30 days. So that gives a little bit more flexibility too. So.
And Jonathan, has anyone contacted you about different funding opportunities? Because they plan to reach out to those who didn't get the business builder but applied and share other avenues. So have you talked to anybody?
No, not really. The Theodore Roosevelt, the gals out of Bowman had reached out about our project, and you know, just the upcoming year, kind of reapplying and that. But I haven't heard of any other sources other than I think you had sent me an email in like maybe May with it was like a Healthy Foods Initiative grant, but yeah, trying to do any grant work in the middle of the summer is dang near impossible for a farmer. So yeah, no, I haven't heard of anything else other than that. So beyond that.
Okay, and I should have said they is Region 5 Development Commission out of Minnesota. And so there's going to be a coordinated effort to connect with applicants, but I don't know the timeline of that. I would hope it's sooner than later. But yeah, thanks for sharing and thanks for asking.
Well, thank you for addressing that. Let's see, also on the agenda is the NEFA Community Grants Food Projects Competitive Grants Program. Thank you for that. We have the RFA here. And the application deadline for that is November 7th. And there are two categories. I think it's I just glanced at this, so others may be more familiar with it than I am, but there are planning grants and community food project standard grants. Different amounts available on each, up to 400,000 in the community planning or community food grant. But it's a one-to-one match. Is the key component of that. Does anybody else want to speak on that? This is the season for upcoming RFAs and grants. No comments, but you can look that up online for the RFA and more information. Looks like a good opportunity that I'll be digging into pretty soon. Any other comments for the group? Updates? We can move on to member updates and North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance updates if there aren't other related updates.
I'll be quick because we're over our time, but just wanted to mention, some of you came in when we were talking about this, but the Burleigh County Commission, they had a public hearing about the agritourism ordinance. We've been sending information out and a lot of people testified, and the commission voted to not implement that ordinance at this time. May come up later, so if it does, we will send out info about it so you can keep updated. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen.
That's such great news, Ellen.
Although the county commission does say that now that we don't have an ordinance, all agritourism events are technically illegal until we have an ordinance. So that's a whole nother can of worms.
Because they don't have a rule, then it's considered illegal.
And if there's no ordinance or policy, then what's the enforcement of that lack of ordinance or policy?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we
What a
should
mess.
get a lawyer involved, but I don't want to pay for it. So if an organization wants to pay for a lawyer to help sort that out with the county, that'd be lovely. But yeah.
Maybe tourism should fund that.
Yeah, they're involved, so.
Thank you, Ellen. Are there any other updates? If there aren't any others, we certainly thank Katrina and Michelle again, and thank you all for participating in this forum. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.